All right, guys, we're back for another episode of Talking Preps. We were trying to get started a little early, but somebody was late.
Dale, you got to get it together, brother.
It wasn't Dale.
What can I say?
It wasn't Dale.
I accept responsibility.
Langston didn't want to see the bricks, and so I had to get something rearranged.
All right, well, we got a lot to talk about. We're going to get to it on the other side of this. All right, Chris, I always start out in the same way. What caught your eye?
Well, a lot of things. It's a great opening week of high school football. Actually, we still got some games going on now, but South Point, they had that big 34-28 victory over Hickory. I went back and looked. That is the third consecutive time here in recent years that South Point beat Hickory. I know Hickory is really ultra talented. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised. Coach Adam Hodge, they really have that red bone figured out. Another thing was, Charlotte Catholic. I mean, their 24-0 victory over South Meck. I mean, I swear, is it Back to the Future or something? Anytime they get that Red Army out there, that's tough to stop. And then, another one is just some early teams really flexing some muscle. Lake Norman, I had heard this rumbling all summer that, they really had it going on. And boy, they sure showed it week one against Sun Valley. Marvin Ridge had that big splash.
77 points.
Grimsley, Huff, all those teams showing us that they're still big time. So, just a lot of good football Friday.
Yeah, no, it was pretty special. One thing, Gary, that caught my eye, and obviously a lot of people in Charlotte were talking about it, was what happened over at Palisades. We get to Friday afternoon, and word comes out that Coach Jonathan Simmons had been suspended. Daryl Wilson was the interim coach. He was a Hunter Huss graduate, so he ended up being his first game coach at Palisades against his chief rival, which was Ashbrook. But just what are your thoughts about, the fallout? We got a team that's thought to be a conference championship contender, maybe even making a regional quarterfinal type of run in the playoffs.
Well, it's hard to say. You don't know what role the suspension played in their pregame prep. We heard about it on Friday, so as they used to say, the hay is in the barn by Friday. The game plan is in.
Right.
So game management, that has to turn over to one of the assistants. Everybody's role changes somewhat, but if he has a good staff of assistants, that usually you can get away with that for one game. Now we'll see how it affects the team next week.
All right, Dale, this is your neck of the woods. This is hold on, Sam. I want to hear from Southwest Dale. This is his neck of the woods.
Well, like I was telling some guys this weekend, I think it's impressive that Palisades played as well as they did, facing what they faced.
Yeah.
So I think that says a lot about where the staff was at and the team in general to be able to come out and play the ball game and play it as well, especially offensively. They apparently had some early issues, but were even able to play and build through them. But the real question now, they've got to play their bitter rival. And
what do they call them now? What do they call their bitter rival? What do they call them?
The first thing people have got to understand is that,
he don't want to say.
No, let me. You got to set it up properly, because little O doesn't mean anything. Little O means nothing unless you know about the full history.
Okay,
and the full history is that Coach Joe White brought out, he and Coach Johnson, they implemented the Big O.
Yes.
And of course, they made certain that they had a big O painted in the center of the field. And they have always known themselves to be the Big O. That's, right. The little O means nothing unless you understand the full context. And the fact that obviously you'd expect people at Palisades to understand what the Big O is and who the Big O is.
Right.
And thus a complete slap to that would be the little O. So a lot of you probably don't know that. When you hear little O, that really doesn't mean nothing, but it really
It meant
means
something to me when I heard it for the first time. I didn't try to go at Olympic. I knew what it meant.
When I heard the Big O, I was thinking about Oscar Robertson.
no, they were always known as the Big O, whether they were good or bad. They were the Big O. That was Coach Joe White's big
Dave Johnson
thing to implement. So that's the slap, is really calling them the little O, is to say, we're squashing that Big O stuff. But I'm just going to close with the fact that your rivals change games, and games that may not be close can end up finding a way to be close when they're a rival. So you got a guy that's taken over as head coach. His culture's obviously not the same. He may have learned some of the culture, but now he's got to implement he's got to be the guy that puts in place the full week of practice, the full game plan for what's going to happen this week. So it'll be interesting to see how they play this Friday night. Ultimately, I think if there's no changes, this should have been an easy win for Palisades. But now,
don't know. Sam, Palisades coach Daryl Wilson, I got a chance to talk to him. He told me he did not find out until about 3 or 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon. They actually got down to Ashbrook. They had 4 turnovers, overcame those to put up 42 points. But just your thoughts about the change in Coach Simmons being suspended.
I think very highly of Jonathan Simmons, and it's very disturbing that he is suspended. But I've been on that side of the coin a few times. So
true.
Never during the season leading up to a game, so that's a different phase. But I've been in these scenarios where I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I know Simmons pretty well. I think that he does. There's an honor amongst thieves, a code, and Jonathan Simmons always applies. He talks to people directly. He's not an email chain type of guy. He's going to talk to somebody if he has a problem. He's a man's man. He does things the right way. I like the way he does it. He's very old school. I don't know if someone or some situation happened. I don't have a clue, but I'm speculating. But if it did, I think that he'll come out of this clean and he'll be back with his team. 2 things I get from the game. They need him. I think they're 14 points better with him. I think he's a great leader of men. Kudos that they're that good. Right. The one thing I think he'll be super excited about is the team is starting to become a player-led team. I think their quarterback finally was able to just look, hey, I run this thing now. He's been in a system with Jonathan Simmons over a year now. This is his second year coming in. And I think that he is a guy that's really taken the fold where Simmons and Palisades is like, okay, this is our guy, and we can score points with him. So I think he understands the offense. Now, the game management and understanding the details, Simmons sees things quickly. He's a great coach, and I think that they do need him back.
All right. Well, I got a chance to talk to the new coach, Daryl Wilson, former Hunter Huss star, 3-time All-Conference guy. We'll play that right now. All right, guys, we got a chance to chat with Palisades interim coach Daryl Wilson, who just won his first game with the school on Friday night. Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Glad to be on.
All right, so the first question I got to ask, it came out of the blue for us, at least. All of a sudden, the Coach Simmons was out. Can you tell us anything about what happened?
No, I can't. So I can't really comment on that right now.
Okay. Well, tell me what it was like. When did you find out the news that you were going to be the interim coach? Let's start there.
Probably around about 4 hours before the game. About 4 hours. Yeah.
So you had no time to really prepare.
Well, I'm the defensive coordinator, so I had my part taken care of. So luckily we had a great offensive staff. So we had the game plan already set. So that part kind of smoothed away. So we're good on that part.
How tough was that for you mentally to have to kind of switch roles to having to do everybody versus just kind of doing your thing?
I think having the experience as a head coach kind of helped me. I got a great Coach Simmons put a great coaching staff together, offensively and defense, with a lot of years experience. and that kind of helped. We all chipped in with the special team part of it, so it kind of went smooth from that point.
Yeah. And what was it like for the kids? I mean, how did you tell them, and kind of what was the reaction when they heard it?
Again, everything happened so fast, so we couldn't really worry about that part. Like I told them, our main focus is Ashbrook. We don't put the work in all week, put the work in all summer, all spring. So, that's our main objective, to go 1-0. We'll worry about everything else later. So the kids kind of took that and rode with it. So that was pretty good.
And you guys did go 1-0. You have 4 turnovers, but you still put up 42 points. Tell us about that performance.
Again, it goes back to the basics. We got to, first game jitters as well, because we got a young group. But we can't have turnovers like that. Luckily, it didn't hurt us this game, but in the future, we got to cut those turnovers down. And going into the league at halftime, that kind of gave us the momentum back right at the half, getting that big touchdown right for the half, because we were down. So we kind of held that momentum the second half. So it was pretty good.
Yeah, look at these highlights. You guys had some big explosive plays once you got down and made the big rally. How big a role? Just having great athletes. How big a role was that?
Man, it's night and day. It's where I'm from coming from Kings Mountain and Crest. I'm used to seeing those kind of athletes. So it kind of felt good to kind of see that. But yeah, we got a lot of great kids, man, a lot of talent. It was my first time seeing them live, so I was blessed to see that.
Yeah.
We played well together. We got a lot of things to clean up, and we'll work on that this week. But I like the direction we're going. Coach Simmons has done a great job with those guys.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about you a little bit. Tell us about Darrell Wilson. I swear I covered you in high school, because I remember you being really good at Hunter Hus back in the day. You were a 3-time all-conference player. You were conference player of the year. Then you went to Appalachian State. But tell us a little bit about your journey to Palisades.
Well, again, I come from a single-parent home. First off, so I was the first person in my family to get a full scholarship at Appalachian State to play football. I came out in '99, and Coach Gardner from Hunter Hus, where I played at, gave me my first opportunity to be defensive coordinator. Got in there, done it a little bit, kind of liked it, tried to get a teaching job, and then I had to get switched over to Bessemer City. So that kind of put a damper in a little bit of things, just wanting to stay at Hunter Hus. But, after that happened, I moved around a couple places, got back to Hunter Hus. Then I went to Forest View for a year, then went to Kings Mountain for about 8 years. And then, just trying to get an opportunity to be a head coach eventually. But I started working my way as a defensive coordinator pretty much everywhere I've been. Went to Crest, had a great success at Kings Mountain and Crest. And then I finally got the opportunity at North Gaston. And then, I'm a little old right now. I'm 50 years old now. So
You're a young man, sir. You're a young man.
50 years young. But I was looking for an opportunity to go help another program. Palisades was a great up-and-coming program. When I start researching a little bit, it's not too far from my house, and I can take back roads to get there, so I don't have to worry about that Charlotte traffic. So I was just glad Coach Simmons gave me an opportunity to come over there. So
so you've been in Gaston and Cleveland counties all your career. What was it like, coming into Mecklenburg? Are the athletes any different? Is the football any different? Is it just the same, just more?
It's probably more athletes, but I'm looking for the challenge, but it's athletes in Cleveland County as well.
We know that.
So
they had 2 state championships.
I'm still learning that, again, I finally get the first taste this week coming in, against a rivalry team. So
let's talk about it, because Coach Simmons very famously calls them the little O. So I'm sure they're going to be pumped up for you guys.
Yeah, I tell you what, they jumped on my butt after the game when I said that, and they were like, "No, you can't say the name. It's Little O." So let me get that right, Little O. So I told them they got to introduce me to Little O rivalry this week.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, man, thanks for jumping on with us. Best of luck to you guys this season. All right.
Thank you. Go Pooh.
All right, guys. Pretty cool guy. I hope you guys enjoyed that interview. I think I covered that guy in middle school in Gaston County. But Chris, I want to come back to you. I got a text from somebody in Kannapolis that said this is the best performance they've seen from A.L. Brown in a decade.
That's what we hear from Chris every year, though. Let's be honest.
Quite.
Chris,
Not quite. I'll say this. now that Coach Justin Harden's finally had his time to implement his program, and he built it from the JV up, and really built it from when inside the building, and you're starting to see the fruits of that. But Friday or Thursday night, I was there at Porter Ridge and watched them just mercifully just pound Porter Ridge on the front. And it was the offensive and defensive lines on both sides that just really wreaked havoc. They're big, they're fast, they're physical up front. They got that traditional speed that you expect from an A.L. Brown team. But really, there's two core things that really stand out to me. One, the quarterback, senior A.J. Settles, he has the potential when he makes good decisions. He could throw the ball for 200 a game, and he could also run the ball for 100, 200 a game. He's got those kind of legs. But more importantly than not, I know we're going to highlight him in our Players of the Week this week, is running back Lamar Greer. That guy, he is big, fast, physical. He runs behind his pads. He carries guys downfield. I mean, he's really aggressive. He rushed for 1,600 yards last year. I believe he could do that again this year. He's something else. So as long as that train works with Greer, I think Kannapolis does have a chance. The schedule lines up for them. Obviously they got a tough conference, but I think they got a chance to be pretty good.
Sam, your old team. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead.
No, I'd say the one thing I noticed about Brown, and I saw some film on them from last year as well, they're a lot bigger up front than they were like a lot of those
They're
years
massive.
Newsom was there. I mean, that
They're
is
big.
like, I don't know if it's just a good cycle coming through now or what, but like that is a big, big athletic offensive line.
No, that guy was running like 7-8 yards in the backfield on the defense for he's getting hit.
The pulling guard did look good coming through. Obviously, that was a big pulling guard. He got square.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Sam, your old team, at Grimsley last week, they got down 21-0, but they actually held their own with Grimsley the rest of the way. I know Coach Brown played some of his twos in the second half, but West Charlotte showed a little spunk, and they stayed together.
Yeah, I was very impressed, to be honest with you. I thought that, DJ McFadden and staff did a phenomenal job of just rallying the troops after the midway through the second quarter, put their feet into the ground and was like, hey, we can play with these guys. It says a lot about, those West Charlotte kids in that group for them not to lose, because that game could have got ugly. It got 24-0, and all of a sudden you get down 30-something points. Now kids start laying their head down. I thought they had a lot of fight in them. And, the whole second half, you're playing a 0-0 game. Yeah. And they had their opportunities. They got inside the 10 once and then inside the 20, I think, another time. I watched the game, and I really like Junior. I think that their freshman quarterback, he had 2 shovel passes in the game that a kid just like, hey, I don't have an angle to flip my hips. I'm just going to shuttle pass it. And one of them was dropped. The other one was completed. The other one should have been caught. But I thought he did a great job of leading and getting them out of situations. Very impressed with the depth at running back. I thought the second string, third string type, or I don't know if they got like a 3-headed monster going. I don't know what the rotation is, but the backs that didn't play varsity last year that were playing JV, I thought they ran the ball extremely hard and looked really good. Defense did some things and were able to make tackles. So I thought early in the season they tackled extremely well. I was impressed with them. I know they lost 24-0, but let's be honest, like they had a lot of turnover. And I thought those guys did a really good job. I was impressed.
Gary, they're playing Monroe this week. How big of a game is that for West Charlotte to bounce back, get points on the board, and get a win?
I always say the second game of the season is the most important one because you find out your identity after that second game. Mm-hmm. First game, it's under the lights for the first time. It's without the coaches being on the field for, a controlled scrimmage. Yeah. It involves special teams. It's sudden change. All of those things take place in the first game that you're not accustomed to even going through a scrimmage. Okay, so what you do between now and this Friday is you find out what you're good at. You find out what you need to work on. You work on your sideline management, your special teams, all of those things. The biggest improvement for a team usually comes between game 1 and game 2.
Right.
And so it's going to be interesting to see how they respond to game 2. Do they take coaching well? Okay. Do they realize what adjustments that they needed to make from game 1? Monroe, because of their head coach, Johnny Sowell, and the program that they have, they're a smooth operation. Okay, now they probably won't be as big as West Charlotte, and they'll have some speed. But if West Charlotte makes mistakes, such as penalties, turnovers, they could be in for a long night against a Monroe team that's always going to be well coached and it's always going to be a good program.
Absolutely.
They're coming to West Charlotte, which is a big advantage as well.
The fish will be fried. The fish will be. Missed that fish, I'm saying. Hales, let's do a little math with me. Caden Craft rather committed to Tennessee this past week. I always say Caitlin Clark. Caden Craft committed to Tennessee. He is a junior. Faison Brandon, who was at Grimsley last year, is a freshman at Tennessee now. How do you like the move of Caden Craft going to Tennessee when Faison would be, I guess, a junior when he gets there?
No, I have no problem with it at all. And that's the thing. Like, we try to view things through the lens of college athletics the way we knew it growing up, but the reality is it's not that anymore. With the transfer portal, with the NIL stuff, rosters change so fast. So, like, you're going to see a kid, not necessarily it's going to be Caden, because, again, who's to say Faison's going to be there, the whole time, too. Like, he may get another bigger suit or something may happen where he moves on. So, I think in Caden's situation, if he feels the coaching staff there is going to get the absolute best out of him, then, yeah, it's a great decision for him. And then, number one, it shows that he's not afraid to compete. There's a lot of guys that look at that situation and say, well, they've got a guy. I'm not going there. I'm not interested in competing. I just want to be the guy. So I think it says a lot about his competitive nature, first and foremost. But again, just the whole mathematics of college sports is changing so much now that, I don't think you can look and say, well, this guy's going to be there for 4 years ahead of me, because nobody knows now.
Yeah, Chris, what do you think about Caden as a football player?
Oh, I think he's phenomenal. He's just got a smooth touch on it. He throws nice catchable passes, but yeah, he can rear back there and he can gun it with the best of them. Great arm, great touch. I mean, kind of like Coach Hale said, he's a competitor and he makes them better. And with him healthy and that whole team, I think that they're absolutely a threat to go really, really deep and compete for a championship because of him.
He's a bigger body. Chris, but he reminds me a little bit of a guy, the Hales coach, Riley Ferguson. Not throwing motion, but just got kind of, I don't know, that kind of moxie that Riley played with. I see that in him. Go ahead, Hales.
Who he was, because see, I guess it was his freshman year. I don't know if it was his freshman or sophomore year. They were playing A.L. Brown at home. Yeah. And this was, one of that season I didn't coach, and I did the game for Bayhackle. I did the play-by-play or the color commentary that night.
Yeah.
And I thought then he reminded me of Davis Cheek, the kid that we had that ended up going on to Elon, where he's a really good athlete, but like he's not a flashy athlete. Like he knows he's smart that he knows to, instead of run, he relocates. He finds a spot, and he's really good at doing that and extending, time in the pocket.
Yeah, no, good call.
That's what I've heard about him too, is that his pre-snap ability is as good as anybody in North Carolina. Like his ability to understand what they're doing, how to read defenses, the intelligence behind what goes behind quarterback. I heard he's phenomenal at.
All right, guys, we're coming up on our first break, but before we go, I got to let you guys know we got Brinson Buckner on the show, played in the Super Bowl for the Panthers, played for a bunch of NFL teams, coached a bunch of NFL teams, has his own podcast. You guys check that out, the Buck Naked Podcast with No Limit Larry, friend of the show, is his host on that show. We're going to hear from Buck later on, but right now we're going to hear from Jim and Dale about what they got coming up on Tuesday night.
Hi, everybody. This is Jim West and Dale Ross. And we want you to come on Tuesday night to hear us discuss a couple of items. First thing I want to talk about is the JV issues. We had a lot of teams in my neck of the woods. I live in the Triangle area who no longer have JV teams. We're seeing some issues with varsity with low numbers. Just this last week, I saw a game with both teams. One's a 6A, one's a 5A. They had 31 players on one side and 20 on the others. Neither team had a JV squad. So we want to talk about the lower numbers in certain areas and what can we do to improve it. And Dale.
And we're going to talk about new media. We saw problems last year We've been seeing a rise in issues with what we're calling the new media or hype media. And it really came to a head at the end of last season and seems to be a problem this year. So we're going to talk about that Tuesday night. Hopefully we'll have some good guests on to help us carry that conversation forward. And of course, we need to hear from you. If you're a lineman out there or a coach and you've got good linemen, let us know, offensive and defensive. We'd like to bring you on and talk with you.
Every week on Thursday and Saturday morning, get the latest in high school news from around the region in the Charlotte Observer's free newsletter, Talking Preps, the newsletter. Make sure you sign up now. Buck, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How you guys doing on this rainy evening?
Man, look, I'm doing well. You looked a lot better this week. I can see you.
I know. Last week y'all claimed me off the waiver wire and I wasn't packed up right. So now all my suitcases got here. I'm set up. I'm ready to go.
All right. Well, I got questions, man. I got questions. Tell me about this thing with NFL players going back to college, Buck.
Man, this is the craziest thing I've seen. It's being reported that a judge ruled that guys who was eligible for a fifth year who went into the draft are eligible to come back to the college football. That would kill that's going to kill the bottom of NFL rosters and college football as we know it if this is going to be allowed. Because Tampa Bay, for instance, has a young guy who's been through OTAs, who's been through training camp, played in a preseason game last week, had 2 sacks from LSU. Yeah. Now he's got ruled to have another year of eligibility, and he could leave and go back to college to compete against kids who are just coming out of high school. Can you imagine going to college, going to the NFL, going through a training camp, learning now the secrets of football? Look at that stance, know how to read coverages, know how to attack blocks. You get 2 sacks in an NFL game, and now you're going to go back to college and probably go against a 19, 20-year-old kid who's never played against anybody but kids. That is crazy. And another thing, it's going to make the NFL more void because if I'm an undrafted guy, we know throughout the league, a whole bunch of undrafted guys make teams and contribute. But you only give me $15,000 to sign. I go through and they say I can come back, and now somebody in the NAL going to give me $600,000?
More than that.
I'm going back to college. This is crazy. If they allow this to happen, the NFL and college football as we know it would not exist within the next 3 or 4 years.
Done that. Let's talk about some older guys. What concerns, Buck, do the Panthers have going back to training camp?
I think right now the interior offensive line and the performance of the offense, you have got to move the ball and show some consistency, running and throwing the ball downfield and looking like a well-oiled machine. Training camp is pretty much coming to an end. You've worked out all the kinks. Guys that are injured, they injured, the next guy's up. Yeah. You now got to start showing that this offense can move the ball. You can protect your quarterback. Wide receivers, you can get open downfield. You can knock people off the line of scrimmage. Coming out of the Buffalo game last week, even you can see Dan Morgan. That offense was atrocious. They didn't want to say it, but a lot of the players said we got our tail whooped by a Buffalo defense. And so you got to now start to show, but then also the linebacker position next to Devin Lloyd. Yeah. You paid Devin Lloyd a lot of money, and right now he's holding up his end of the bargain. You got to find him a running mate. You look at Carolina Panthers throughout their careers, Dan Morgan, Will Witherspoon. Yeah. You have Luke Kuechly, you got Thomas Davis. Yeah. You got to find him a running mate that can help with this defense.
I'm a little older than you, Buck. I remember Lamar Lathan and Kevin Green.
Oh, yeah, Salt and Pepper.
Salt and Pepper. Yeah. But what advice would you give to parents trying to navigate the college recruiting NIL world?
Well, a lot of parents, I say get involved. The thing that I hate with parents right now, they subscribe to these websites and they just put their their sons or their daughters recruiting in the hands of other people. No, you educate yourself. Contact colleges. Make sure your kid has grades right, that you're putting the true size on there. There's no AI being did to the film. But also when it comes to NIL, educate yourself on the money, on how it works. You know what I mean? Don't just get blind by the money numbers. Understand that you got to pay taxes on it.
Yes.
You got to know what this means. Go out there and sign a contract with this guy that say, well, yes, I'm going to represent him in high school, college, and if you go to the pros, he's still signed to me. They sign these 360 deals.
Yes.
That's normally what's seen in the record business. You got to educate yourself, but educate your whole family. Because if I was there, I was like, it's going to affect me, your mom, your sister, your brother. We're all going to go take some finance classes.
Yeah.
We're going to educate this because believe me, if you're good enough, they're going to come out the woodworks to get everybody. So I just say, educate yourself, sit in and ask questions. Don't just nod your head and say yes or no. You go and you interview these guys. You understand the recruiting. Because at the end of the day, if you continue to let the college hold all the cards, it's going to be, you're going to go to whoever school you believe the most, who told you the best lies. You got to flip them interviews when them coaches come to your house. You put him on the hot seat.
Right.
How you going to treat my son? What you got in place? If my son don't turn into the superstar that you telling me he's going to be, how's he going to get treated? Is he going to get rushed out of the program? Are you going to help him set up for life? Or are you going to help him grow into the man I want him to be? Because once you sign that scholarship, you're really giving ownership of your kid to this program. And you got to make sure you guard your young men.
Yeah, having had a son who played Power 4 basketball, what you're saying is very true. Gary, what I'm hearing from a lot of parents is these agents are loaning money to these kids, and the kids going out spending all that money, not necessarily understanding they got to pay it back. Buck mentioned that 360 record type of deal contract. How aware are parents of what's really going on?
Not as aware as they need to be. They need to start educating themselves when that kid gets the first scholarship offer, beginning maybe some cases sophomore year, junior year.
Yeah,
they need to start that process, and they don't need to sign anything until they get a lawyer.
Yeah,
I think an agent and a lawyer are two different things. And
yes.
Buck knows from playing and coaching in the NFL. If you sign with an agent and in high school, and then that carries on to college, they may have some kind of stipulation in there that says in a NFL or NBA or whatever, but agents at the pro leagues have to be certified.
Yes.
Right.
You just can't have anybody represent you. Even these NFL and NBA players that have a parent representing them, like Lamar Jackson or Jaden Daniels, their parent had to become certified before they could negotiate with an NFL team.
Right.
And so, if you see your kid has that much potential, more so than an agent, you need a lawyer who can navigate the agents.
No, I think that's
and understand, because at the NFL level, I think, or NBA, I'm not sure which league it is, they only get 3%.
The NFL is 3%, and you can slide down if you want to. But I'm hearing horror stories where some of these guys that's representing these high school guys, they're charging upward of 20 and 30% on the dollar. There needs to be regulations. I'm so tired of
and it's a loan, but they're loaning that money.
Yes,
20%.
I'm so tired of these amateur sports taking on these professional sports values and characteristics, but not dotting their I's and crossing their T's. Where is the regulation? You got to regulate it. Are you certified? Agents in the NFL got to go get certified every year. When it's an NFL combine, the agents are there meeting, getting their certification, making sure everything is in order. Or if not, you're going to have a generation of kids that are going to blow through money or going to be old in money. It's going to destroy their lives. You know what I mean? We got to save the kids. You know what I mean? I know it's entertainment. We love our sports. We love our teams. Yes, they're getting paid, but with pay comes responsibility.
Absolutely. All right. Well, last question. But
one other thing, Langston, I think would be a good idea. I know CMS, they do a coaching symposium before school starts every year. Maybe one of the things that the schools need to do, especially these schools that have highly recruited athletes in a sport. I'm just going to say Huff, for example.
Yes.
They probably got 15, 20 players that can play at some level of college football.
Right.
Why not bring somebody in to talk to the parents?
Yeah.
And educate them as a group.
Well, James Exum right here in Charlotte. He used to represent Magic Johnson.
Yeah,
So yeah,
have somebody come in and talk to the parents so that they don't make these mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, last question, Buck. Curious on this question from you. How can the Charlotte 49ers become must-see college football and resonate with fans and recruits?
I think for a team like the 49ers right here in Charlotte, you got to build a fence around your city. I talked about this last week. The talent in the Charlotte metro area is so great. And I know you're going to lose out to some of the big-time schools because you don't have the NIL, but you got to build a fence around those guys that probably can't go home. You got to take a chance on a guy who might not be the 6'2", 195-pound corner. Maybe he's 5'10", 175, but he's got a good football IQ, but he's going to put family in the seats. Right. And even with the guys that go off to college, you got to stay in their ear because when it happens, I want to hit the transfer portal. Make sure they have a safe landing spot at home. Charlotte is a nice city. The university, UNC Charlotte, is a beautiful campus. It's continuing to grow as the city grows, but you got to make sure it grows. But then also, I think you got to shock the city. There's a lot of ex-Panthers and guys that are in the high school coaching, them been in pro coaching like myself.
We got a Hall of Fame coach in middle school in Charlotte.
Yeah, that's here. Bring them onto your staff. Don't be afraid to make a splash hire. With just from a popularity point of view.
Hold on. Would Brinson Buckner become the head coach of Charlotte 49ers?
Yes, I would. With a drop of a dime. I've made my home here. I love Charlotte. I'm big in the community. I got ends to different high schools, north, south, east, and west. I'm from South Georgia. You know what I mean? I went to a high school that turns out 15 to 20 D1 prospects every year. You think some of them guys would want to come play for Brinson Buckner who went to that high school? I would love to. If they came and sat down and said, hey, but we want to give you a chance to be the head coach of Charlotte 49ers, I'm going in there like Nick Saban. I'm going there like Nick, because I know this area, you can turn it around. And I don't want to speak bad on nobody. I hope they have a great year this year, but I would love to have the opportunity because I see where it can go. Why can't Charlotte 49ers be what App was in the early 2000s and going forward, how they grew that program? You look at what JMU are doing. You know what I'm saying? You got the resources right here in Charlotte. You just got to go out there and get it. But I think to the people on the board, the people at UNCC, you might have to go outside the box to get this fire started. Hey, come get me. I'll do it. You ain't got to pay for my moving. I'm already here.
All right. That is
Brinson. Listen, you know who has done a great job making that school marketable? Is Maurice Flowers at Johnson C. Smith.
Yes.
They were a perennial loser.
Yes.
Perennial loser.
I don't know if loser is even the right word, but yes, correct.
If it's a word less than loser, that's what they were.
Well, look, that is Brinson Buckner. He's going to be here every week. The Charlotte 49ers are going to be your best friend this week, probably. But thanks for coming on, Buck, man. We catch you next week.
Hi, I'm Scott Fowler, sports columnist at the Charlotte Observer. I have been here 31 years, but you know what I never have had before here? A newsletter. I've got one now. It's free. I'd love you to sign up for it and get my take. Every single time I have a column, you'll see it first. Panthers, Hornets, college sports, high school sports, whatever controversies going on. Sign up for my free newsletter, and you will be able to get my column every single time earlier than anyone else.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. Hales, you asked me to put you in the spot to talk about rookie coaches. I was going to turn you loose. I got no idea what you're going to say, but go ahead.
All right, rookie coaches, man, there's a list of you guys that, and there it is right there. Congratulations. You guys grew up. You wanted to be coaches. You wanted to be a head coach. You followed a path. Week one came and went, and you got yourselves your first win. There's two guys especially on here I want to recognize. The first one, Perry Osby. Coach O, It has been an absolute honor and privilege to work with you. I've been, working with Coach now over Providence for about the last month. Outstanding coach. He's going to have a great future. The next one, my man, Littlejohn. Coach Littlejohn, congratulations to you and the Bulldogs. And this is kind of where I want to go with this, because the other side of the coin is there's a bunch of guys that coached their first game and lost their first game this week too. Mm-hmm. And to you guys, I want to say I lost my first game as well. My first game as a head coach, I go on the field at Mallard Creek. We are on a 32-game winning streak, 2 times defending state champions, and I gave a horrible pregame speech. I forgot that I was in charge for about 5 minutes at one point, and we lost our first game. The good news is all you guys that lost your first game is you get to turn around this week and go get your first win. Now, here's where the ironic part comes into play. That first win that I got back in 2011 was at Olympic High School. This past Friday night, Coach Donald Littlejohn got his very first win at Olympic High School. In addition, when I had to come back from my 1-year hiatus, retirement, vacation, whatever you want to call it, my first win coming back from there, once again, thank you to the Trojans of Olympic High School. But, guys, more than anything,
are you trying to make Dale mad down there?
Not going to make me mad. That's funny, though.
No, it's cool, man. It's really, really cool. But
Palisades will have a new head coach Friday night.
Well, he's on his first game
Olympic
Friday.
High School.
Well, he got his first win. He was a head coach.
Ashbrook.
But he's been a head coach before, so he's not exactly getting his first career win. But that's pretty impressive. But Sam, you got one of your guys got a win, and Coach Williams' game got rained out at Burns, but he's got a chance playing friend of show Corbian on Friday and Chris Emil.
Mm-hmm.
How proud are you to see your guys out there, getting these wins early on?
Oh, I talked to them so much the other day. Text messaged them, just been following them throughout the week, and I think the world of these two guys. I mean, these are my right-hand guys. Williams at Independence and Donald Littlejohn came over there at West Charlotte with us when we won a championship together. He does a phenomenal job. He's probably one of the most organized guys there is. Both of those guys are extremely organized. One's more of an offensive-minded guy, and the other one's more of a defensive-minded guy. But their structure is so good. They're really good about building people up. I would have loved – the only thing I wish I could have seen was the pregame speech. I just wish I could have been there for that or, after the game. And, don't let these guys fool you. Like Littlejohn, he does his post-game speech. I knew it. I told him, I was like, you're going to be so humble. Yeah, we got to get some things worked on. That guy was so hyped. I know he was like, oh, I've been telling y'all. I know he was super hyped, but they did a great job. Super proud of him.
Yeah.
I think another cool thing about doing this, and when you do this as long as we have too, I had 2 other former assistant coaches get their first wins of the season. Coach D-Rob over Philip O'Berry this past week. And then our guy Sneed got his first win of the season the other night. So, and then down in Indian Land, you had Ryan Houston making his debut as an offensive coordinator against Trip Stone. Yeah. So, to have these guys all over the place, man, it's super cool. I know that all these kids that get to play for these guys are in great hands because they're all great people and great coaches.
Sam, you must have been a really bad coach that 2 of your assistants become head coaches and one of them gets a win week 1. You're doing a really bad job over there at West Charlotte.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's why I got fired. That's it. Maybe you see the same thing. I'm going to blame you for getting fired now.
Now it's time for one of my favorite new parts of the show. We got No Disrespect.
No disrespect, because we don't appreciate officials until we don't have enough of them. But Friday night, I saw too many official conferences to decide, was it illegal procedure or offsides? Okay. Was it illegal motion or illegal formation? The officials looked like they were kind of still in scrimmage mode as opposed to game mode. Come on, guys, you got to pick it up. We don't need a conference after every flag. Okay? Make the call, spot the ball, let's play. I was at a game the other night, and it lasted 3 hours, and it didn't go in overtime, and it wasn't a whole lot of passing. It was just a whole lot of official conferences.
All right, Mr. Hales. I saw the Huff game Saturday. That was 3+ hours and didn't have any of that either. Hales, no disrespect, but
no disrespect to the athletic directors. You guys have an unbelievably difficult job, especially last week, trying to figure out the weather part, whether or not to move your games. But for me, the leaders in the clubhouse right now for athletic directors of the year are the ones who didn't move their games this past week. I'm not saying I went to the Butler game Friday night. I know a guy maybe that went to the game. It turned into apparently like 70 degrees, like nice breeze, like the most cool, like non-crampy first game night of the year. And again, it could have went either way, but I mean, what a beautiful night it was Friday night had I gone to that game.
No disrespect, but I love Aaron Brand. But Irmo got thumped. I'm gonna tell you right now, like that bravado of getting ready, meet on the 50 type deal, highs and lows, it's worked out. I've never seen a team that was, like Rock Hill came to play, and no one. I mean, you can ask anybody on this panel if you guys had that game, Rock Hill and Irmo, who would all y'all pick going into that game?
Irmo.
Yeah,
I mean,
Irmo.
Yeah, I mean Irmo all day long, and so no disrespect, but. Back to the chalkboard.
All right.
He did own up to it, though.
All right. Now it's time to go to Chris's corner. Chris, you got it.
All right, guys. Well, hey, it's that time of the year, or that time of the show to go through Chris's corner. I'm going to run through some top games for this week, and then I'm going to really highlight three what I think to be some of the bigger ones here for Friday night. There you see the list. 71st, they had a statement victory Friday night, beating Terry Sanford 59-14. Coach Eric Hall, we didn't talk about him. That was his first head coaching win. But 71st at Cape Fear, that's a big game. Shelby, hey, going to Crest. Those two big games, big wins Friday night. Robbinsville, this is the game I'm going to be at. Coming in uncharacteristically 0-1. They took it on the chin to Tuscola Friday night, opening up a brand new stadium at Franklin High School, brand new Franklin High School. The Panthers, by the way, at Franklin, they are perennial. I want to tell you what, they are in the elite stash of 5A teams. They put a thumping on Murphy Friday night. It probably could have been a little bit worse than that. West Forsyth, they're coming on strong. They're going to go get a little bit of Grimsley. We'll see how it shakes out for them. Jack Britt at Hoggard. I was at that game last year. That's a really good one. Tarboro at Wilson Hunt. Tarboro escaped a tough one, 38-34 over Rocky Mount Friday. Clinton at Midway, Oak Grove at Reagan, Richmond at Scotland. Interesting fact, this will be the first time in the history that these two schools have faced when neither one of them won a game. I know it's 0-1, but still, it's never happened like that in the history of that rivalry. And then Mount Pleasant, they had a big win against Concord, against Carson. Now, I just want to say this about Carson. I thought they were going to be a little bit young coming into the season, but boy, they put a thumping on Central Davidson, who is really good. They've got a good-looking football team. I saw them last week in their jamboree up in Rowan County. But there's three games that I really like that I kind of want to spend a little bit more time on. Watauga, 1-0, defending state champions. They are going on the road to take on TC Robertson. TC, I think, if TC can get past this game, I think they're a 10-0 team. In fact, I think whoever wins this game will be 10-0. TC Robertson, though, up there in Asheville, they are all kinds of good. Watauga, they typically play that disciplined style football, very physical. But TC Robertson, Coach J.D. Dinwiddie, by the way, he got his 100th victory last week. I like him a lot. Moving down to the eastern part of the state, Jacksonville, they steamrolled West Carteret this weekend, 49-0. They're going to face intra-town rival Northside Jacksonville. Jacksonville's just so well coached, so disciplined. They move the ball with precision. I love looking at their film. Coach Bo Williams does a great job. But Northside Jacksonville, extremely talented, fast. It's going to be a great contrast of in that game. I really like that one a lot. And then finally, this is two new schools. It may be the first time we've spoken about either of them here on Talking Preps. Southeast Alamance, they're about a 4 or 5 year old school, took from Eastern Alamance. A lot of their coaching staff came from Eastern Alamance. We know the pedigree of that program over a lot of decades. They're going to host Seaforth, which is also a brand new school in that area down in Chatham County. Those two schools undefeated. They're up and comers. I'm going to tell you what, get to know the name Seaforth and get to know Southeast Alamance, because I think they're both going to make really deep runs. Seaforth has a quarterback in Duncan Parker that threw 6 touchdowns last week in their 49-0 victory over Chapel Hill. And then Tyler Jackson for Southeast Alamance threw for 5 touchdowns and about 300 yards against Orange. So those are just 2 guys that I really like and 2 up and comers. But, that's it for me for Chris's Corner going into week 1. There's some other big games here in the Charlotte area, and I think it's time to get into those next, men. All right, let's do it. Key games featuring the best of the Charlotte area. Rolesville, I know they're 0-1, but they're dadgum good 0-1. They're going to go take on Providence Day. That's a big one right there. There you see Charlotte Catholic. The old the Jim Cook Cup, they stopped the game because it was so one-sided for a long time. Gary, tell me what you think about that. Actually, let's start back here at the beginning. Sam, I should have asked you some questions about Rolesville at Providence Day. What do you think about this one?
I just think that, Rolesville, I appreciate them going into these tough games. Like I told you guys, I thought Mallard Creek was better than them. They were going to surge, and that's what happened. Providence Day is a whole different beast. Providence Day is a top 2 team in the state, and so I don't think it's a great matchup for them, and they're coming to Providence Day. It's not a great one. The one thing I was more impressed with was Catholic's win last week. That blew my mind. I thought South Meck had an opportunity. I thought they were going to be the better team. That just shows you the magic by the multiple state champion coach coming back. I mean, they just right back in the rare form. Unbelievable.
Yeah, no doubt. I told you guys, I was at the West Charlotte Catholic scrimmage last weekend, and both teams I came away really impressed with. West Charlotte will be fine, but Catholic is going to be really good. I think they're going to compete on the 6A championship level. Gary, I had mentioned it. They stopped playing that Cook Cup when they played Country Day because it just got so lopsided, but they're back at it. Enter Mike Brodowitz. We saw Catholic won 24-0. What do you think about this game, Gary?
Once again, I'm like Sam. That was a shock to me because I thought that South would win the game. I really did. I thought it would take Coach a while to get his system back going at Catholic, but they didn't waste any time. And Country Day is in trouble. I think Country Day is in trouble. Yeah.
Can Providence get back? Because last year I was surprised. I watched this film last year. Providence lost to East Lincoln, and they were slinging the ball all over the place. And then Providence came to West Charlotte, but then they went on their deep run. They went 7 games in a row after that. But I like Providence. Let's see what they can do. I think they're coming to Providence. Hales liking the new head coach. I think they might be able to get East Lincoln this year. I like this one. I might be where I'm at.
East Lincoln brings the number 1 recruit in the state in Jackson Dollar. What do you see on film, and what do you think about that game, Hales?
So the funny thing about, when you play against a kid like this is when you put the film on, you don't need to know what color the teams are that you're playing, what color the uniforms are, because that player just jumps off the screen at you oh, that's him, that's the team, that's the uniform color that they wear. But the kid plays all over the place. He plays offensively. He plays defensively. He's the punter on the football team. And he's a phenomenal talent. But the thing about it is he's not the only really, 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 really good football player that they have. So, going into a game like this, of course, you got to account for him. You got to have a plan for him. But you got to be careful about focusing too much on one player on another team, especially when they have other good players. And it's obviously it's a group that's used to winning and has won a bunch of football games. So, just like everybody else, we're going to have to improve, just like from last week and clean up silly stuff and, just try to avoid self-inflicted defense and, unforced errors. And, our kids are going to play hard, so we'll see.
Hey, last week we talked earlier about Harding. They had that tough week 1 loss to Indian Land. They're going to face Garinger this week. Garinger with the win could have its shot at its best start since the 1990s. Sam, what do we think about this game?
Yeah, I think that if you're looking athlete for athlete, Harding would have the better roster. But I really love what, Coach Jupiter Wilson's been doing at Garinger. I mean, he really has changed things at the G, what he's been saying for such a long time. And I would love for this. I'd love for, I love Harding. I love Garinger just because Jupiter's there. And it'd be interesting to see. I think if defensively they can slow Harding down and make it a close game, they got a great shot. It's just they have a lot of great athletes at Harding. Can they get them the ball? I don't know necessarily if they can get that done. If they do, then it's problems for Garinger. So we'll see.
Yeah. We already hit on this game a little bit earlier, but waiting that Monroe 1-0, they're going to host West Charlotte. They're 0-1. West Charlotte's trying to bounce back after that tough loss to Grimsley. Gary, what do you see in this game here?
Well, like we talked about earlier, we should see some growth from West Charlotte. It was their first, regulation game against tough competition with the new staff, and now they know each other. The players know the coaches know the players, and let's see how they respond after a week of practice. It won't be easy. Okay, they're going to have to beat Monroe. Monroe is not going to give them the game. Monroe is well coached, but I think in the end, West Charlotte's size will probably wear Monroe down in the end.
Yeah. Weddington, they're undefeated. They had that big victory Friday against Mooresville. They are going to Myers Park. I want to stay with you here, Gary. What do you feel about this game? Can Myers Park, can they bounce back?
I don't think so. I think it's going to get very ugly. I think it's going to be ugly. The only thing similar to these two teams is they both wear green and white. Okay? That's the only similarity. Myers Park does not look very physical. Their defense is not physical. They give up a lot of points. And we saw from the highlights earlier with our player of the week, Weddington is going to be able to run the ball. And I think they might look at this as an opportunity to break in the new quarterback, let him throw the ball a little bit so he can get a rhythm. But I expect Weddington by at least 4 touchdowns.
Wow.
Mm.
Olympic.
How much did Myers Park lose? Did they graduate like 50 players? I don't know, because I don't hear about any transfers from Myers Park, but I don't know if anybody knew. But like it was surprising because Myers Park, you remember last year they were thumping cats. I mean, they beat Weddington last year. You don't think Weddington remembers that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hey, moving forward, we talked a little bit ago, Olympics going to Palisades. Palisades has taken a calling Olympic the Little O. We kind of touched on that earlier. Hales, do you think this is a real rivalry?
It's got a chance to be. I mean, they played each other how many times? Dale, 3 times now, right? Olympic and Palisades? How many times they played each other?
This will be what, 4th year?
4th year. Mm-hmm.
Okay, what's the record?
Let's see.
It's at least the last 2 years.
Olympic won the first 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think it's 2.
Well, here's the thing. It's kind of like a thunderstorm warning versus a thunderstorm watch. I think we're in a rivalry watch situation where the ingredients are present. There's the familiarity. There is the geographical, nearness to it. But I don't think we're there just yet. I think for it to be like to truly classify as a rivalry, number one, you need history. And it's too early. And if you can't have history, something big has to be at stake. Like you're meeting to go, to state championship games or something like that. So I think we're in a rivalry watch. I don't know if we're in a rivalry warning yet, and I'm not sure we're at a rivalry yet. But all the ingredients are there. It needs a little more time.
Well, technically, they do. They are the little O to the P, because if you look at the P, the symbol, there's a little O on their P.
Okay.
So that's about the rivalry against.
Wow. I did look it up. They played 4 times. Palisades leads the series 3-1. Olympic won the very first one 47-0, and it's pretty much been all Palisades ever since. Dale, I just want to get your thoughts on this game.
Well, I'm going to disagree with Coach Hales, and I have good experience with this. So Palisades was created by a split of Olympic, which was one of the largest schools in the state. And we had the same situation when my son went to Olympic. We created a school called Waddell, and that was an immediate rivalry. Why was it a rivalry? For the same reason this is a rivalry. The kids grow up together. They've known each other since they played youth ball together. They've known each other a large part of their life. Charlotte's a big transient city, but regardless, Palisades was formed primarily from Olympic-based students, an Olympic-based community. There are a lot of players that played JV at Olympic that ended up going over to Palisades. They're out of that phase now. So there is a rivalry amongst each other because they see each other. They go to the same Harris Teeter. We have the same Harris Teeter. We have the same Target. We have the same, the same Best Buy. We have the same restaurants. They see each other whether they want to see them or not every day. I agree, for it to be a sustained rivalry, you've got to have reasons to play. You're beating each other evenly, or one of you's winning a lot, winning state championships, etc.
So you're
Right
saying
now,
Olympic has to win. Olympic has to win this game, is what you're saying.
Olympic
3-1.
Does Olympic needs to win? Yeah. Just like I think Palisades needs to win. I think both teams need wins. Olympic
It's 3-1.
They just got, well, forget about that. They got fucked Friday night. So they need a win. And Palisades need to win to show that they can play under a new coach, under a new system, under a new
It'll be the same system. For Hale's credit, I think he's saying rivalry watch is because it is definitely a rivalry between the families and the players that got switched around in that area. A real rivalry is when you got other people like Duke Carolina or like these other people chime in that are not involved. And they're like, you know what? I want to tune in and see who's going to win Palisades and Olympic. That's what he's saying. I know what he's saying. You're involved because you live there. You go to that Target. You go to the Target and everything. But like for us to chime in and say, is that really a rivalry? I don't know. We're juggling that right now.
Well, I think we're picking the wrong target for a rivalry there, Sam, by what you said. What you said definitely plays on the stage of a college or a pro situation. In Charlotte, rivalries are harder to call. They can switch, and this game may not be a rivalry in 10 years because it becomes too lopsided.
Yeah. Well, hey, we got one more to talk about. Saturday, Cardinal Gibbons, they will take on Huff at Bank of America Stadium. Yesterday or Saturday, we saw Gibbons just steamroll their way through Greensboro Dudley 45-6. Huff, they had the power and slug their way to a 15-10 victory over a really, really strong Rock Hill Northwestern team. We've got the makings of a slugfest on Saturday. Sam, I'm going to give you first shot at this one. What do you think?
I'll tell you what, it was a beautiful thing to see. That defensive. I mean, I was more impressed with Northwestern's defense being able to stay with them, Huff-wise. But Huff's defense is remarkable. I mean, remarkable. And I think as the year goes on, that's a team you do not want to play. If you're going to try to beat Huff, you need to try to beat them in the first 4 games, maybe 3 games, because they're only going to get better and better and better. I do not like this one for Gibbons. I think that they're going to come into this game and they're gonna hear the scary stories. They're gonna hear the tall tales. And I think if they get down 14 points, it could be a 21 or point more win victory in the other way, even though I think Gibbons is really good. The only thing I don't understand about Gibbons, all right, and someone's got to break this down to me. They were potentially a 6A team, correct? And then they asked to go to 7A, right? So maybe that was for purposes for conference. I don't know what it was for, but you're going to 7A with all the other juggernauts. Maybe it's better for other sports like soccer and all those things, but I don't quite understand that because 6A, I think they would be the favorite. If you ask me, I'm not trying to disrespect Gibbons. What I'm saying, if they were 6A, I would say they're the favorites to win the 6A state championship in football if they were 6A. That's what I'm saying.
Hell, so what do we think?
Nick Drew
Yeah,
is going to have to. He's going to have
I don't think-
game against Huff.
I don't know if Nick Drew or Larry Drew or Nancy Drew or any of them are going to help out this week. The big thing is when you said the scores, like Huff's already had a man up. Like Huff's already had to find that inside them and find that toughness and come together in some tough conditions against a really, really good team. Cardinal Gibbons didn't have to do that. It doesn't sound like the other night. It sounded like they kind of rolled. So, they're going to have to be up against it. Like Sam's saying, I mean, when you hear about these teams versus when you see them, it's a little bit different story. Like you could hear about the size and the amount of athletes and that, but when you actually see that up close, I mean, that could be worth points sometimes before the ball even goes up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Here's
Sam,
the
I'm
bad
gonna ask
thing
you-
for Cardinal Gibbons. Huff was, I would think, 2 weeks behind any of the South Carolina schools.
Based on the rules, yes.
Based on the rules, they're 2 weeks behind. Now they've played a game. They played an extremely tough game, and they played well. Now they get that opportunity to do that step improvement this week, and they already look great. So I think it's going to be a tough ball game for Gibbons.
Hey, Sam, last year you took your West Charlotte team into a tough environment there at Bank of America. You guys took on Grimsley. Obviously, in that same day, Huff had that tough game with South Point. Does having experience with Huff's players playing in that stadium, that environment and all that, is that going to give them an advantage that maybe Cardinal Gibbons don't have?
Oh, without a doubt, because it is in a good way. They take care of you. That is the best game I've ever been a part of. And I've been blessed to be in state championships just like Hales. That they like trying to kick you out. Hey, got to move you out of here. Don't dump the water here. They act like we're not in the state championship. You go to the Bank of America, they roll out the red carpet. They lay mats down that are designed with your logo on it. They're feeding you nice. They're taking care of you. And sometimes you can get that fat cat feeling like, oh, dang, I done made it. And you have to come to play because those lights come on. There's going to be a lot of people in there, especially from the games last year. I think last year's games, and I'm not trying to toot our own horn, but those games were magic. Both games were special, and there's going to be even more attraction trying to come to these games to watch them again because of the excitement. If you weren't there last year, they're like, dang, I'm not missing it this time. So it's going to be a stadium packed, and I think the advantage goes to Huff there. They play well under the lights. They've been there.
Yeah. Well, hey, I hope it's a big event. You're right. Carolina Panthers, they just do it first class. My man Riley Fields, it's just always been a first class operation in every way. But hey, we are going to listen now to our man Cam Williams. He caught up with Providence Day defensive back Caleb Cooper, who committed to Penn State. Let's see what our man Cam's got to say.
Appreciate that, Chris. This is Cam back for another week of Cam's Corner. This week, bringing on Providence Day defensive back Caleb Cooper. Really talented young man. Links is going to throw up some of his highlights. But first, we'll welcome in Caleb right now. Caleb, how are you doing, bud?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. Well, appreciate you coming on. I'll just jump in. What's it like playing for Coach Greer? Because I know that can be a loaded question. I ask a lot of different players that play for Providence Day. Just what's it like on the defensive side playing for Coach Greer, who's more of an offensive-minded kind of genius, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, going up against the type of plays and concepts that he comes up with every day in practice, it's truly a blessing and an honor to be able to go up against somebody with a great offensive mindset like that. And offense helps defense, defense helps offense. If you know both, and you're able to predict and know what's going to happen and know how to play against both. But yeah, he's an old school head coach. He pushes us hard. He cares more about who we are as young men and how we do on not just on the field, but like off the field in a classroom, in a private scenario with people and peers, and how we really treat each other as human beings.
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned, to know the offense is to be a good defender and vice versa. Well, you actually played running back in the past. So talk about the transition to defensive back and kind of what went into that, why you were more naturally drawn to the defensive side of the ball, and if you were ever needed to in a pinch situation, could you go back and play running back?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I've already been going both ways a little bit back and forth in practice already going into the senior year. But I mean, growing up, I actually started off playing quarterback, and I've been blessed enough just with my body type. I'm able to play almost every position on the field, and I don't take that for granted. And I'm truly an athlete, and so if I'm ever on deck to go in at running back, at receiver, or whatever, then I'm more than happy to. And then just to call it the defensive side, it's just where I felt most natural at. It just felt like my home, especially with all the guys that I got on my team right now. It's just a great place to be at, and I'm proud to be playing for Providence Day's defense.
I got you. Well, let's talk about that defense. One that's one of the more prolific and high profile coming into this season. Did a real number on Myers Park in week 1. So just talk about how good this defense can be and how good it can become as the season kind of matriculates.
For sure. So especially building off of last year, I mean, we had a great year. We had a star-studded roster, and almost the entire defense came back, and we had a couple more pieces. And so going in this year, we want to go from we were at great, and now we're back to good, and we want to go back to where that great standard is. And so we definitely have the players on the defense and the people in the box to get us to where we want to be at. And so it's just going out there and executing and communicating at a high level, playing with ferocity and tenacity, and doing what we do best.
All right, Caleb. So we'll talk about your recruitment to Penn State. What were those conversations with their coaching staff as well as other people around the university? I know it's a very high-profile place to play football as well as attend school. So just what made that place feel like home to you?
I mean, that was the first official visit that I took, and after that one, it truly felt like home. I was there for a short amount of time on the weekend, and just the amount of people and the places that I saw on campus, it was just it was a great culture. And Coach Campbell, I think he's going to have the entire program and and just the foundation of the team going in the right direction. And I mean, I was on FaceTime with Coach Broomfield just yesterday, and he was just calling to check up in on me. And I feel like it's a great place for me to be at, and excited to be going up there.
Absolutely. Well, I know you got Roseville coming this week, but it's kind of hard not to be looking ahead to that Huff matchup. In a place like Providence Day, where you guys play a lot of high-profile games, when it comes down to a matchup like that against one of the best, if not the best, public school in the state, just how big of a game is that for the student body as well as the team as a whole to be able to play in a game like that?
For sure. I mean, throughout week to week, our goal is to go 1-0 every week. So before even thinking about Huff, we got to get to Roseville, and we got to execute what we do, and we're going to go out there and handle business with them. So we're not going to be looking too far ahead, but I mean, yes, it's definitely a game. It's a staple of our schedule, and I'm sure it's a staple of theirs. And it's just something that you got to take with a grain of salt. It's just another game. You don't want to hype it up, but you don't want to dim it down. They have some great players, and so do we. So we're going to go out there, and we're going to just play football and do what we do best.
Absolutely. That 1 week at a time answer, that's a very Chad Greer answer. So good job there. I'm sure he'll appreciate that. But last one I've got for you, what's it going to take for PD to win yet another state championship? Because they certainly do a lot of that.
For sure. I mean, the standard that we have is definitely different to other schools that are around the country. So it's just as simple as executing and doing what we do best. And our offense, you're going to get on the field, they're going to score. We have stars all over that side, and then you've already seen the defense. And it's not just me. I got all my guys around me, and it's a great system where we all build off of each other. I mean, practices are the hardest part of the week. The games are the easy part. That's payday. When you go out there, you have fun with your guys. You go and cheer on each other. But yeah, I mean, leadership is going to be a big thing on our team. We have a ton of great leaders, and going forward, they're all going to be staples. And it's not just our 4 captains, but we have people all across the board that are ready to step up and lead and go out there and just play football and do what we do best. So yeah, going forward, we're going to, like I said, it's going to be week by week, and 1-0 every week. That's how we're gonna get this thing done.
Absolutely, man. Well, Caleb, I appreciate you coming on. I know this was kind of a last minute thing, but I do appreciate you. And Talking Preps will be right back after this short break.
Hi, I'm Chris Hughes, the host of The Observer's Talking Preps, the #1 high school football show in North Carolina. I'm proud to say that our show is growing and growing and growing, and we've got a brand new schedule. Mondays, 8 a.m., Talking Preps Players of the Week. Mondays at noon, you can watch the entire show on charlotteobserver.com. Mondays at 7 p.m., the show streams everywhere. Tuesdays, 8 p.m., Dale Ross, Jim West will host Talking Preps OT Live, talking about statewide issues, trends, and interacting with viewers. And don't miss our post-game show Friday nights, 11 p.m., when we wrap up all of the night's actions. At Talking Preps, we've got you covered. All right, guys. Hey, great job to my man Cam. He's always on top of it with the interview. So, hey, we're in this shot right here. I can only mean one thing. It's time to lock the doors.
Welcome to another edition of Countdown.
All right, guys, welcome here. Week 1 of the 2026 season, and we got the preliminaries out of the way. Let's get down to the real McCoy, the coach versus coach. I think we got some cool questions coming up for you, so let's get started. Question number 1, coach versus coach. Should CMS play games on Thursday, the week before school opens? Coach Hales, I'm going to give you the shot at this right out the gate.
Let's go. Yes, absolutely, 100%. I'm here for it. If you don't play him Thursday, play him Wednesday. I'm going to tell you guys why. Sam, you've been there. We've all been there. The absolute worst week of practice of the year is the week of practice when teacher workdays start. Players, coaches, we're eating dinner 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, or breakfast at 4 o'clock in the morning for those that are going, trying to practice before those teacher meetings. So we're in our back to school meetings all day long. You got the heat restrictions in place. So we're not getting on the field at like 6:30, 7 o'clock at night. And it's just, it's awful. Like the days are so long. Now, here's the thing. If we play on Thursday nights, I don't know about you guys, but I, for one, whenever like a hurricane or something rolled through, I loved it. I loved getting those, that Friday game moved up a day. If for no other reason, it gave me a day off. So this is what I'm saying. So we play those games on Thursday night. On Friday, we have a mandatory coach's PD. Guess who's going to be in charge of the PD? Me. That's right. We're going to have a mandatory PD the Friday after those Thursday games. It's going to last from 12 to 12:05. You have to log in, and you could just – and all it's going to be is a scream session. You come in, and you just complain about everything you hate that week, and then you go away. And that's going to be our deal. We play it on Thursday nights. If we get bad weather, you still have Friday to go to. But I just think it's such a stupid week for practice. I hate, having dinner at 10, 11 o'clock at night. Let's just play the game on Thursday. Like we've been prepared. Everybody's been prepared for their first opponent probably since the spring. So, not a lot of surprises. So let's do it. Thursday nights, opening week.
I like it. I mean, that's a very creative way. That's why Hills is good at what he does. That's a very creative thinking process. And then you have the shout session the next day for the PD for 5 minutes. That's genius. I mean, and I told everybody, like all the people that got moved their games to Thursday, if they got that win, it felt like you got that extra day. And you need that extra day before school starts. I'm telling you, like you think you got that regular weekend, it's stressful. Making sure Huddle's uploading right. Making sure we got the game film exchanging. It gives you a day to figure some things out so you can always catch back up. We just call it the catch back up day to get a Friday. And if it does, and then if the weather's weird and you got to play on a Friday, you're okay. I like it. Let's do it.
See, Sam, this is what happens when you turn off the head coach brain. Like you get to have all these fun ideas.
That was genius. I love it.
Hey, let me show you what happens when you turn off the teaching brain, since you two are still teaching. Okay. Also, after you have that PD you're talking about, you go to lunch and you never come back.
That's right.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. You're my vice president, Gary. You're my second in charge for this.
Now that I'm a retired teacher, I can say this, that on teacher work days, when teachers go to lunch, they're not coming back. Okay, so
Gary, there's a lot of people to watch this show. They're gonna put restrictions out there. Stop it. They're gonna make us clock out.
Hey, that's a them
Well, here's
problem,
the thing.
not a me problem.
No, here's the penalty. Here's the penalty. If you don't come back after that, you forfeit your stipend increase that you received this year.
Oh, that's a big penalty. That's a big penalty.
Okay, we'll
But
punt that.
Here's what I would like to say, Chris, because we all agree that there's nothing wrong with Thursday, the first week. But I tell you, the worst day is getting ready to come up Tuesday. When school opens, those kids are going to be so worn out from the adrenaline of the first day of school that Tuesday will also be the worst day of practice, because it'll be the first time they practice right after school, after being in classes all day, and then that heat is going to hit them, and practice will be awful on Tuesday. I always used to tell ADs, look, if you want, you got 2 bad days of the year: picture day and the first day of school. Okay,
Picture day is
both
brutal.
on the same day and get them out the way.
I love it.
Some people hype video days too got bad, but it's all good.
Right. Speaking of that, let's move on here to question number 2. What should high schools do about the rush of people coming to games with cameras saying that their media wanting a spot on the sidelines? Obviously, we've dealt with this in the past. I had one of those young guys, and just story time, I was at a game this week and ran into one of those young guys, and he saw who I was, and he called me grandpa. So you know what? I'm feeling myself, dang, I feel a little disrespected. But Gary, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, I'm starting to run into this problem where they're not honoring passes. You know, that's the problem I have, because, you know, I got the gold card, and they look at me like I'm crazy. Like, what is that? You know, and so I think that CMS has got to come up with something that's blanket for everybody. This idea of emailing ADs, you know, ahead of time individually, that's hard on the ADs. You know, they got enough to take care of where they don't want to answer 50 emails about various people getting into games. But, you know, for the last portion of last season and it started this season, I've had to email an AD just to let them know that, hey, I'm coming to the game, even though I'm already credentialed, because a lot of times they look at that list, and if your name is not on it, gold card, black card, I don't care what kind of card you got, they're not letting you in. So I know we starting to put a little too much of this on ADs. It needs to be a blanket policy for every school, not each individual school.
Well, right. And I see some conversations even online about this, and people are like, well, reach out to the coach. Like, don't reach out to the coach. Like, we got enough to do, you know, but there's got to be some type of vetting process. Like, you can't just say, hey, I'm here with my camera. I sell pictures, and you sell a picture to your mom and your grandma that you took at the game. Like, there's got to be more to it than that, because there's some of these private people that do an amazing job. Like, I love seeing their work, and I love seeing their videos. But I've also had to tell some of these people to get out of my way when I'm on the sidelines. So they're not necessarily respecting the boundaries to that either. So there's got to be a cutoff to this somewhere, somehow.
Yeah, totally agree. I think that the box, like, no one can come into that 25 to 25 area. You got to work around. I think the veterans know that. Like, I've ever gone somewhere with Dale, gone somewhere with Chris, you know, they know they never get near the players. They never get around the area where you're getting involved with the team. That's why we're here. We're here to watch them. We want to make their life easier. You want to work through the end zones. You want to work up here. But getting in should just be like that. We have the pass that we get in, and then we have some type of maybe hologram or something the state gives us since we get elected that we can wear on a lantern or one of those things, you know, you wear something like a little CMS deal that you're on the field. But it gets difficult. I agree. It's very frustrating because anybody that has a camera, they're thinking I got to do this for my job. Well, there's a process to get to this job first. That's it.
I agree. I agree, and it is a tough situation. There's no doubt about it. And you're right, Gary. It's tough. Even having to call ahead, and ADs don't always get back to you, and you don't know if you're on the list or not, and you show up anyway. So we could go on this for miles and miles. But anyway, let's go to question number 3 here. Coach versus coach. Everybody knew the bad weather was coming on Friday. Were there too many schools that were not proactive enough? Hales, I'll let you go first.
It's such a hard position to be in. That's what I said earlier. Like, I respect the heck out of all these ADs and coaches because you're having to make decisions based on forecasts. And sometimes you're going to look really, really smart when you make a decision. Sometimes you're going to look really dumb when you make a decision or when you don't make a decision, whatever the case may be. Like I said, I know that stopped at the Butler game, Friday night. It was beautiful. 70 degrees. There's a breeze, a little chill in the air. And they don't move their game. It was fine. But again, I understand why people move their games. Like, we moved our game, because we thought it was the best thing to do. And that's the thing. Like, you make the best decision you can for your own crew, with all the information you have. So, it's kind of one of those, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, sometimes it rains.
Gary.
Well, kind of like what Hales is saying, everybody's reacting off forecasts. Now, one thing that has helped a great deal for a lot of schools is having turf fields now.
Mm-hmm.
So it used to be, I'm worried about tearing up my turf, tearing up my grass for the rest of the season. And so I think it's easier to make that decision when you have a grass field as opposed to having turf. The thing you run into with turf, though, is turf is not going to protect you from that lightning. And that's the issue that you have, still in August and probably in September is the lightning. It's easy to say, we should have done this if you're sitting in a lightning delay. But like Hale said, Butler, South Met, Catholic, they all got it in and there weren't any delays. So you just don't know. It's almost like flipping a coin, but it is easier to do now. It's not 100% foolproof, but it's easier to do if a school has a turf field.
Yeah, there's so many variables. So many variables, like you said. If you're going against a Ween T team and they're playing on grass and they want to be in a wet game, they're going against a tough opponent where they gain an advantage. They're going to wait and see because it gives them an advantage. If you have a great defensive type team, but you have some team that's airing it out, there's so many variables to go in. So were they proactive enough? Yeah, I think everybody played it out perfect because I think out of the only game that did not get played was someone that went to South Carolina with Independence and Burns. Every other game got played, correct? And they waited. They played either Thursday and they get the extra day, and they got the shot match at 12 o'clock to 12:05 to get everything off on the table. They look good. All right. And then also Friday, the people played, they got great weather. They probably didn't worry about as cramps as bad as they did for people that played on a Thursday. So many variables to go into there. And I think that, a lot of coaches are going to be very creative and know I'm playing on a Friday because of this. I'm going to wait it out, or I'm going to play it early because I want to have an extra day, and I think we're ready and prepared. So there's a lot of things that go into that, and I think everybody did it to their best advantage.
Quick point, as an AD, and football is paying my bills, do I want to risk the chance of my game being rained out, or do I want to definitely go play on Saturday or Thursday when I know the weather's going to be good? That's the only thing I hear what you guys are saying, but I know that football pays the bills.
I think studies
Yeah.
show that it don't matter how big the game is. A game on Saturday versus Friday is not going to make
That's good. I'm thinking more Thursday. But Chris, you want to toss one to Dale?
Dale, we got you on the screen. I want to ask you the same question because you and I have been on the sideline for many games over the past 25, 30 years. What's your thought on this new media situation with people trying to find their way to the sidelines?
Well, I think the first thing that has got to be understood, and Rick Strunk stressed this to me a long time ago, was that NCHSAA passes are just entry into a game. They're not guaranteed to a sideline. And back then we still had traditional media. So the Observer was still printing a whole bunch of paper, and so were the other people. And that I think there's, and hopefully we're going to have a good discussion about this Tuesday night, but what we call traditional media has morphed a little bit, and there's still the traditional journalists or people who are out to cover the game for the sake of the game. But what we're seeing a lot of are these hype, and I don't like to call them media. They are media, though, because they're creating some kind of media, but they're hype. They're doing hype stuff. They're TikTokers. They're however you want to put it. And I think the sites, I heard what you guys were saying about having to contact ADs, but at the end of the day, it's an athletics director's responsibility to control the game. They're the ones that are responsible for putting on
How
the
would you
game.
feel if somebody at CMS vetted all these guys and came up with an approved list of everybody who could be admitted to a CMS game, and then let the individual schools decide how many off that list should go? And I agree. And one other point, I agree with what you're saying about hype media. I don't know that I would call these guys media. They're more like when I want to have a picture of me and my wife and my kids taken, I call Paul Williams. Hey, Paul, come take a picture of me and my kids. I don't view that as media. That's more kind of,
well, media is anything that we create.
They're not
for
chronicling
content.
the game. Those
We can call them content creators. Is that's probably a better term for them. I call them hype media, which is really just
they're
because
making
doing
content.
hype
They're
videos.
making content. Yeah, that's a good.
They're
one.
making content, and they're not really doing things to move the entire game forward, which is what I think all of us are doing.
The thing I'll say though is the kids want them, so I think that
they want them. So let me answer your question.
You have to allow that, but I think you just can't allow. There's just too many. There's just too many people.
Well, here's the thing.
Who's who?
That I've got two things to this. All right, and number one, like kids, that's who that stuff is being marketed to. You know, like the kid. When's the last time a kid even opened up a newspaper? So like these are the things now that are popular. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's it's true. I used to love opening up and seeing the box score and that, but like. This is how information is being delivered. This is how this stuff is being consumed now by kids. And that's, who we marketing this stuff to. The other thing to that is like CMS has a list of approved vendors. Like if we want to order helmets or shoulder pads or this or that, they've got a list and we could only go off of that list. Absolutely. You could do the same thing with this stuff.
I think they should. I think that's.
Let me answer that. Answer your question.
Go ahead.
It was told to me by one of the guys that works with us at Carolina Varsity that some of the schools that they're going to have already been told they're only going to allow certain number of people from different outlets, and they're only going to be allowing certain outlets, and this is access to the sideline.
Some
this is outside of this is outside of Charlotte.
Yeah, some of them are going 2, some of them are going 6, and some of them they're charging $500 to the independent guys to get it passed. I think that's really the way of vetting.
So CMS could they could create an approved media and approved media pass even, and thus because you know what's wrong with these the hype videos, the hype content creators is important for the kids. And I think it's maybe important for the overall game. But what these guys don't,
I think there's too many of them.
Well, but what they don't have an understanding of is sideline decorum, how they should.
That's part of the vetting process is that you get a list of whatever.
They sit down on their butt right on the sideline. I've seen them actually have feet crossed over.
Because they're on if I'm going that was a really cool one out on Jamori Nichols this past week. That guy's just shooting Jamori Nichols. So if the defense is on the field, Jamori's not. He's chilling. So, those guys,
these guys have got to be controlled to a degree.
That's part of this contract.
That's
part of this contract.
We're gonna have a really great discussion on this Tuesday on Talking Press. So the team's gonna turn down loose and hopefully try to get some people on. And maybe some of these guys will come back too. But before we move on to Sam's final thoughts, I got 2 things I want to drop. 2 interviews I just totally forgot about. We heard from the Providence Day guys after their big win, and we heard from the Providence guys, Hale's new crew, after their big win. So we're going to drop those when we come back with Sam's final thoughts.
Playing that well. I wasn't playing that well in the first half. I was playing pretty bad. But then at halftime, we went behind the bleachers. Coach gave us a great talk, and it lit something inside me. It lit a fire inside me. So I went out there, did my thing. I had a few sacks, but the team defense overall played great.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, now, when you're in that mode, is it like you're just sort of moving the pieces out of the way and just going for what you see?
I try. I just do what I can to get to the quarterback, and that's I don't really know what I do.
It's a good sense of the ball.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fantastic. Well, Granger, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Good luck this season.
And roll Panthers.
It wasn't pretty at times. We faced a lot of adversity, especially at first, but I felt we stayed together. We were positive throughout the whole game, even when things weren't going well for us, and we came out with a win.
Man, we came out sloppy. It was a rough week coming up and down with the change of practice and moving the game up. Hickory Ridge is a tough team, man. They had a great defensive line, well coached. Coach Gentry had them guys ready to go. We had to scratch, claw. It was a classic first game of the season, but our boys stayed tough, stayed together through the fatigue, and we pulled it out. Shout out to the defense.
So, Cole, tonight, you guys had a really great offensive front.
Yeah.
Talk to me about, you threw a couple touchdown passes there in the first half, but talk to me about the running touchdown.
The running touchdown, I mean, they blitz. I probably should have checked the under, but I saw a lane. I mean, I like to run, and I just made something happen.
So, what in the passes you threw to, I think it was number 1 for your first touchdown.
Max Castle.
And what were you seeing on that play?
There's an outside backer played him with we had a kind of like a rub, and they came in, so I threw the flat right away. And I mean, I let our receivers be our receivers. He made a guy miss and scored.
So overall, what are your impressions of your first win tonight?
I mean, it went really good. There's still definitely some things to work on. I mean, some things we got to fix. I messed up a few plays, but I mean, looking forward, having fun. Just fly around, have fun.
So, Coach, can you give me your impressions of tonight's game?
Obviously very happy with the first half, and really the first drive of the third quarter, we run the clock, we came out, we're efficient on offense, and then don't like the way we finished. But even at halftime, we told them that we did some really good things. We played well, we made lots of mistakes, and that's the great thing, that we can still be that effective and efficient with the mistakes we made. But those are correctable mistakes, and I always say you get better from week 1 to week 2, so I'm excited to see what we do next week. But I think the rumors of the demise of our offense might have been a little overstated. I think Cole Cater was exceptional. First really start was his team. I thought he was amazing. I thought it was the first time we had all 4 of our receivers really healthy to play and spread the ball around. O-line did a great job. I thought offensively we were great. Defensively, I thought pretty dang good too. I mean, we had that penalty that kind of led to some stuff, but overall defense did a great job. Our kicker, I thought Cameron Keel was amazing. He had 7 touchbacks. He's got a legit leg. So I think we've got all the pieces to have a really special team. We just got to keep putting together and cleaning things up.
That's what I'm coming
No
to.
disrespect, but don't
right
kick
now.
a football, Coach. That would have been a good
All right, Ground, it's time for your final thoughts, but I got to put you on pause before I let you make your final thoughts. I got something I got to show you, Ground. Out in California at practice, football coach got mad, kicked the football, and hit his player right in the gonads. Check this out. All right, so the young man has to go to the hospital. The coach got fired. This was his response. I kicked the ball and it hit him in the groin area, and I instantly felt like I was going to pass out. I feel a great deal of remorse. It's a 1 in a million shot. He's a great kid. He's intense. We've had a dozen conversations about not taking kids to the ground during team drills. So apparently there was some altercation that happened before that, but you heard the coach and how he addressed it. Just your thoughts on seeing that, Grant.
Yeah, I mean, that was god-awful terrible. I mean, I got no problem with the arguing, frustrating. Like, if you doing something, you're going to hurt another kid. He's talking about taking the kid down to the ground. You can get all angry with them because it's a safety issue, but then you brought in a safety issue. So, you got to practice what you preach. So if he's mad about him by doing something that's going to hurt someone in a physical way in a practice when we're not doing a tackle drill like he's talking about, all of a sudden you just made contact with him, you should be fired. That's just dumb. It wasn't an accident. Did he try to hit him in the gonads? Probably not. But he kicked the ball 5 yards away from him, directly at him. So the ball was going to make contact with him more than not. That's where it gets crossed the line. He could have stomped the ground. He could have slammed the ball down while he was making an argument or whatever. Now, if he slammed the ball down and it rolled over to the guy and he tripped or something, then I might give him dude, all right, we're moving on. That's fine. Dude kicked it directly at him. Whatever needs to be done, get him out of there. Let's go.
Hales, you ever kicked the football into a player?
have not kicked a football into a player, thankfully. But I've had some situations, but I chased Jalen Cowser across the practice field one day. That was awesome. That was so much fun. I don't know what I would have done if I caught him. But anyway, no, there's a couple of things to this too. A wise man once told, and could you put that quote back up again, Langston?
Yeah.
Because a wise man told me one time that everything before the word "but" is BS. So if you look at the guy's quote again, look what comes after the word "but." He's intense. We've had at least it doesn't look good when you look at it that way. It doesn't look good anyway. But one of our big things as a coach, especially as a head coach and even as a human really, is before you do anything, you got to think, what's the worst thing that can happen if I do this? What's the worst thing that happen if I kick this ball? Obviously, if you can't think like that, if you can't.
He had already cussed him out pretty good. He had cussed him out pretty good before he got to the ball.
Which that tells you, once you've gotten to that point, you're not thinking straight. Well, you probably shouldn't be a coach then anyway. You got to think, what's the worst thing that happens if I do this?
Yeah, and I can defend him if he was taking kids down on the ground. And I've heard a lot of coaches curse. A lot of people use that.
I'm just saying.
I'm fine with that. But when you go from there to the next phase where you're making contact and you're it was terrible. That is,
when you get mad, what words do you use? Like that, gummit? What do you say? When you get mad?
Depends on the year. I did let a couple of curse words go this last year. That's probably why I got the good Lord said you're done. Before the dad gummit, flipping bull crap. Them ones. Yeah.
All right, man. Time for you final thought.
As a basketball coach,
I'm sorry.
I have broken a couple of clipboards, and I had to be conscious of where I threw the clipboard so it didn't.
Yeah, you coaching girls, bro. You got to be real careful.
Boomerang somewhere else. But
that's true.
I had one of those tantrum things in me about once a season, and before I did it, it was calculated, and I don't think this guy's was calculated.
Yes. Right.
I would always tell my principal on the way to the locker room, I'm getting ready to break something. I just want you to know ahead of time. This is planned. I just got to get their attention a little bit. And every principal say, do what you got to do, coach. Just don't hurt nobody. That's what it was. But his wasn't calculated. He just was in a rage.
Yeah, no, he lost it. All right, it's time to put the big man in this big. Can I still call you the big man since you're unemployed?
I'm employed and it's not coaching. Golly. All right, Gummy. Hey, we're gonna do a collection plate at the end of the show just so I can pay some bills. Josh. I appreciate it. I just want to shout out. I'm not taking credit. I'm being dead serious. Not taking credit for these kids that I've coached, but it was amazing to see a lot of the guys that I've coached playing in different areas. Jamari Nichols had an amazing game. A lot of things that he does was just special to watch. You go to Jordan Moore. Jordan Moore for Hopewell had 2 touchdowns in the passing game. Rock Hill Center was a former center for us. Started as a freshman, won a state championship as a 13-year-old kid. Now he's in Rock Hill, had an amazing game, and actually defeated Irmo. And to go to the major game, you had Sincere Day playing at corner. And if you ask me who's the best corner, no disrespect to the Dobson kid, but number 7 is special, and that's Sincere Day doing a great job. And you have Davion Jones, and the guy that stood out the most, and you can ask anybody, in my opinion, the guy that stood out the most, still being recruited, he's an undersized guy, is Michael Griffin, number 0 for Huff. Phenomenal, coached him for 2 years, but he's the one that got the safety in the game, had multiple sacks, just flying around. So it was very special. Even though I'm not coaching, I was able to put eyes on these kids that I have relationships with and just see their growth. And these coaches that are coaching them even take them to the next level. So they do a phenomenal job. Kudos to all those guys.
No, that's pretty cool. Speaking of players last week, the one guy who I heard the most about this past weekend, Huff, Ryan Peterson, the junior linebacker. Buck talked about him in our group chat. I heard from 3 college coaches talking about him. That guy really made a name for himself this past weekend. Ryan Peterson, junior, 6'1", 220 linebacker, flying all over the field against Northwestern. All right, guys. Well, that's it for another edition of Talking Preps. This one was better than the last one, and we're just going to get better as the year goes on. We got the number one voice of high school football. We have him here every week, Chris Hughes. You got Sam Griner, who is employed. I'm sorry, I did say you're unemployed. He's not coaching. We got to get him back coaching. Gary Richmond says Sam Griner is one of the top 2 coaches in North Carolina, and he stands on that. So
Thanks,
we got Brian Hales, 3-time state championship coach. Gary Richmond, the CMS
semi-retired Coach Hales. He's got to be. You got to label that because I'm telling you, he's semi-retired. I'm telling you, that's like
semi-retired 3-time state championship coach Brian Hales. Gary Richmond.
He's only semi-retired if he doesn't take that check in November.
No, he's taking that check. He's earned that. All them. He needs to get a check for the next 30 years on all the work that he's done. Yeah.
Y'all always messed up my ending. I have my ending, y'all.
My bad.
All right, so I'm gonna do my ending. That's the number one voice of football, Chris Hughes. That is Sam Griner, 2-time state championship coach. That is Brian Hales, a 3-time state championship coach. Gary Richmond, the CMS retired football and basketball coach, who is semi-retired, I guess. And Dale Ross, the CMS historian. I'm Langston, and we are finally done Talking Preps.